Okay, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Okay, so in this episode, I thought I'd try to say something about one of the shortest books of the Old Testament, the Song of Songs. And if you don't know, the Song of Songs is basically a collection of love poems spoken to each other by a young man and a young woman. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Okay, so I would say that the Song of Songs is one of the most amazing pieces of love poetry in all of world literature. In it, absolutely everything is enhanced and beautified and given a kind of vibrancy. I mean, the first thing that stands out is how love and how sex is described. That's to say, it describes those things in completely poetic rather than in prosaic terms. It does it in rich imagery and in sensuous language, and not matter-of-factly. Now, there's something refreshing about this, isn't there? I mean, it seems like today everything seems to be about the technical or the instructional aspects of love. And that seems to kind of reduce and debase it somewhat. Actually, no, I find it ironic that there have been so many interpreters of this poem, like the Christian scholar Origen, for example, who insists that there must be some spiritual message in the poem that exceeds the mere earthly theme of human sexuality. Now, this is so strange to me because the poetic language and description of such themes in this poem clearly invests sexuality with just this sort of spirituality. In other words, you don't need to go past the surface of the poem. You don't need to go past the natural to get a sense of love and beauty made completely sacred. You know, and in connection with this, what's also so interesting about this poem is the conspicuous total absence of God from the text. Actually, it's the same with another close book from the Old Testament, Ecclesiastes. There too, God is pretty much absent. But what's so interesting about Ecclesiastes, and I would say the Song of Songs too, is just how enthusiastic they both are about paying attention to this life and to all of its transient but totally sacred wonders. Again, maybe the fact that God is absent in these two books is meant to suggest to us that it's possible to see a kind of spirituality or sacrality in nature without explicitly appealing to some further transcendent source to justify it. That it's all there in the human bodies and in the spices and in the grapes and in the fig trees that surround us. Okay, so now another remarkable thing about the poetry here is its heavy use of figurative language, most of which are similes and metaphors, really. So, for example, at one point in the poem, the lover praises his beloved by saying she has dove's eyes. Now, of course, this isn't literally true. But what describing her eyes like this is meant to do is to evoke new realms of meaning. Maybe what it feels like to see them or something like that. Okay, well, why am I bringing this up? I mean, poetry is full of figurative language. So what's the big deal here? Well, to me, what's particularly remarkable about this poem is how much of the imagery is drawn from nature. And more specifically even, how often the two lovers and their body parts are compared to various entities in nature. I mean, the examples are endless. The young woman is a lily. Her hair is a flock of goats. Her breasts are fawns. And her temples are pomegranates. And her lover? Well, he's an apple, a gazelle, a mountain, and a cedar tree. And their lovemaking, well, that's, among other things, a vineyard and an edible fruit. Now, I think all of this is pretty suggestive. That's to say, I think what part of the author of the Song of Songs is saying in employing all these comparisons to nature is that to love someone, to be in love, is not just to find the immediate object of your love lovable, but to find many things about the world lovable. Love awakens your receptivity and your senses to what's around you. It's synesthetic. So, in other words, the beauty of the lovers in the poem awakens them to the lushness of the landscape around them, to all of the flora and fauna that's so often referred to there. Their love draws into its orbit the whole of that world they live in. That's to say, that world, perhaps once dimly seen, now lights up with beauty and significance all around them because of their love. And finally, there's one more thing I want to say, and that has to do with the power of language. I mean, I think sometimes we forget just how much language can affect the way that we see and experience the world. Life can be just so much more beautiful and interesting than our often all too impoverished language suggests to us. I mean, what we don't want to talk about or bother to find words for hardly exists, right? I guess what I'm saying is that the richness of language, of expression, is part of the richness of experience and perception. The more elaborate and uninhibited our language is, the more things will be lit up for us. And if you don't believe me, no better than to go straight to the source. Behold, you are beautiful. Your eyes are doves behind your veil. Your hair is a flock of goats. Your teeth are like a newly shorn flock which have come up from the washing. Your temples are like a piece of pomegranate behind your veil. Your breasts are like two fawns that are twins of a roe which feed among the lilies. How much better is your love than wine? You are beautiful, my love. I mean, is there any doubt about it? As the author of the Song of Songs clearly knew all too well, a beautiful language reveals a beautiful world. Bye for now.